And there's the green lamp for the second family outing of Fazer Nash. And I say family outing because a member of that family until recently has been my co-commentator Michael White. And it really is a family affair, isn't it?
Well, I must say in two senses, it's a very lovely club to belong to, everybody very helpful to each other, but it's a club that has seen in some cases 3 and 4 generations participating in these cars, which of course go back to the GNs built way before the First World War. The first of these series of cars, which are unique because of their chain drive transmission system. So as we say them, going round Dublin Crystal Corner here on their warm-up lap, we have an opportunity to see a large part of motoring history.
So it's welcome to the chain gang for the second time in the weekend here at Phoenix Park. And we are showing you the green lap, in other words the warm-up lap, because we suspect that there is a look. I think there's a bit of a play acting going on there on the right of your screen. Martin Stretton looking terribly worried. He's looking down as if there's something wrong. Maybe he's lost his boot or his accelerator pedal or something. And Martin Stretton, who won yesterday, may be going to give us a bit of entertainment, I suspect, Michael.
Well, indeed, Martin, of course, virtually a professional racing driver. He has a car restoration business in England, but weekends he drives cars all over Europe, ranging from Fazer Nashes like this to modern GT Porsches. This car he's driving, it's the only one of its kind in this race. There are several others in the paddock, but it's a 328 BMW as imported into Britain in the mid-30s from 1936 onwards by Fazer Nash and actually badged as a Fazer Nash. But it doesn't have the chain drive transmission. A wonderful motor car if you just look at it, the styling for 1936. And this is a car that after the war was in fact built in Britain as the Bristol. A saloon version obviously, but basically the same car mechanically became the first post-war Bristol. So as we look at the cars coming down into the Ferry Glen, into Argos Rentals corner, we see the variety of field, all different. Almost every car has a different engine, different styling, because they stretch from the early 20s right through to the BMW of 1936.
And as I say, we're insight into a little bit of play acting that's going on. I think it epitomizes the whole spirit of this class. This is motorsport for fun at the very highest level. Here's Stretton. He's the people of Phoenix Park probably won't realize that maybe this is a little bit set up, but it's all for the benefit of the entertainment this afternoon. And Martin Stretton is going to join the back of the field after the warm-up lap, so he's going to have a lot to do. Number 22, look out for him. What a man, Mark Walker. Yesterday, he provided us with such entertainment, this incredible car, Michael.
Well, it is absolutely incredible and typical of Fazer Nash mentality. Find a thing that could have been built 60, 70 years ago and build it. This is a GN chassis. It has a Riley crankcase, a V-twin, but it has the cylinder barrels, which come complete with heads, off a Samson Aero engine. Each cylinder is 2,000 cc, so we're looking at a 4.25 litre car that drives through little spindly chains and wheels. So quite wondrous. Just look at the valve gear working there. Maximum RPM 1400 revs. It sort of thumps every tree on the main straight here at Phoenix Park.
Lights on in the back, 5 seconds to go, 8 laps to go in the Fazer Nash race, the second running of this grid during the weekend, the end of a fabulous weekend outing for all these enthusiasts. And off they go off the line, no problems here. Look out for Martin Stretton. He will be at the very back, that streamline car, down to number 14 there, Alistair Pugh, very much in evidence, and down they come into Dublin corner for the first time.
And it's a dice between John Giles and the AC engine people, and taking them in the inside, Peter Cobb and the British Samson engine Fazer Nash. So there's a bit of variety, but 2 Meadows engine Nashes trying to come through on the inside, and something has gone wrong. Somebody's got John Giles. Peter Cobb well out in the lead now in this beautiful motor car, typical Fazer Nash, but with a twin cam British Samson engine.
Now John Giles, I'm not spoiling the story here, but John Giles was also in our script because he told us he'd run wide, so that's the 2 quickest cars from yesterday are at a little bit of chicanery here literally in this race, so you're going to expect them to come up later on during the race. Meanwhile, let's read it straight.
And we're seeing it here in second place, a lady driver, that's Jo Waterfield, driving her father's Meadows engine Fazer Nash and doing incredibly well. Stretton having difficulty now, passing one of the more conventional Fazer Nashes at the back of the field.
There's the leader just coming out, and we're looking for number 1922. He's up into 4th place. Absolutely fabulous. Mark Walker. This dates back to 1922, that car. Just going through frame at the moment. There's Stretton. He's waggling around on the straights a little bit as if it was a fuel feed problem. Maybe it is. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Maybe he's got a bit of Irish gravel into his fuel system, but there's Joe Waterfield in the green car, number 20, and she's ahead of Bill Roberts, who's the captain of the Fazer Nash section of the VSCC. A bit of a mouthful, but look at the Thunderbug. This trying to get past the larger Fazer Nash, this much older car, the engine based on a 1908 Riley crankcase.
Well, the one that's not playing this according to plan is Peter Cobb, who's way out ahead. This is the battle now. You look out for number 24. He'll be one of the quickest cars. John Giles, I think he's the 4th of those cars. Just going around the outside, trying to go around the outside of the Thunderbug. There's no space there, gentlemen.
Well, indeed, Stretton now beginning to make up, but Peter Cobb is on a flyer here. But just look at John Giles now coming up the left-hand side of the track, jumping away there, but he's really got the foot down. The 6-cylinder AC in a very old GM chassis, going tremendously well. Suffering badly from axle tramp under braking, but still a wonderful motor car. Just look at those front wheels dancing on the bumps.
So Peter Cobb keeping the whole thing honest, you might say, out the front at the moment. And then we see Martin Stretton in the background there, not quite the last car, but the blue BMW stroke Fazer Nash. And interesting, I think they were telling me yesterday, Michael, if it was right-hand drive, it was a Fazer Nash, and it was left-hand drive, it was a BMW.
Well, that's absolutely right, but the incredible thing is that there were more of them sold in Britain by Fazer Nashes because of the exchange rate at that time than there were in Germany. So most of them are Fazer Nash BMWs, although some of the original BMWs do still exist.
Stretton beginning to show that as he starts to carve up through the field. Incredible man, as I say, drives Formula One cars for a hobby. He really gets an awful lot of free drives, this guy, because of his skill and because of his entertainment value, which he's certainly giving us at the moment as he comes up alongside the Thunderbug.
Well, my goodness, look at the angles there. The Fazer Nash cars, of course, with a solid rear axle, so they have to slide them around the corners. It's actually very safe, although it doesn't look like it. But Martin Stretton beginning to carve his way back up past the chain-driven cars. He's getting level now with Joe Waterfield in the Meadows engined Byfleet TT replica. Mark Walker comes up the inside, trying as they come into Dublin Crystal Corner to pass, but doesn't quite manage it. This car, of course, only with rear wheel brakes, which makes it even the more marvellous to watch him. The skills involved being quite considerable.
Stretton leaving these two behind now as he begins to carve his way up through the field. He's now in 4th place. He's now in 4th place, I think, actually, because Roberts is next up on his list.
So there we have it, Peter Cobb leading John Giles. And Bill Roberts behind that. He's captain, as I said, of the VSCC Fazer Nash section. He's got a 328 BMW engine in his car, driving through the chains. Then we have Martin Stretton in this very distinctive helmet, which graces, as I say, Porsches and Maseratis and all sorts of things. So he's made it an interesting battle. Bill Roberts saying, come on, get past, get on it there, as John Giles tries to catch up with Peter Cobb.
And Stretton really trying now. We can see there's a proper bit of decent motor racing going on now. Stretton really goes after the bunch, and he's got to go a little bit because, as I said, Peter Cobb, who was never really playing according to the script too well, because John Giles now is also having to go hard. And this is what we saw yesterday, that the undulations and the corrugation of the track just coming into South Corner there give these old cars quite some problems.
Well, indeed, it's primitive suspension systems, and let's not forget that these people have been touring the south of Ireland for a whole week. They've been round West Cork and Kerry up through Clare into Galway, and then they came here to race Saturday. So they've already had quite an extensive race programme yesterday.
Peter Cobb, number 9, leads in his 1928 version of Aston Martin there, right on his tail. John Giles, number 24, one of the most entertaining men we've seen all weekend in this class. His car's 1926, and he's right alongside him now. A real challenge.
Well, John Giles looks as though he's got the outside advantage on Peter Cobb. But we're out of camera now. There's John Giles coming in now, and John Giles certainly has got the better of him as they come down to Argus Rentals Corner. John Giles from Peter Cobb. Stretton now in 3rd place in the 328 BMW. You can see Peter Cobb's car weaving under braking. John Giles running a little wide again.
And look at the wheel spin of Martin Stretton's cars that came out of Argus Rent-A-Car Corner there. He's going up into 2nd, is he? There isn't a lot of room there. He's got to be careful with the undulations of the track, but he moves up into 2nd place.
As John Giles snatches up a gear, he can see Stretton in his mirrors. The race is really on now. Let's not forget that the engine that is in Stretton's car is the same thing that was used in the Cooper Bristol in the 50s, as driven by Mike Hawthorne and others. So a very rapid motor car indeed, and with relatively modern suspension. Stretton gets absolutely sideways there. John Giles working away on this outside gear lever, coming up as they do out of Saab corner, down the main straight into our view.
The amazing thing is that I think it's next weekend that Stretton is flying to Japan to compete in the ultra-modern GT2 Porsche, and there's Colin.
And this is Tony Colley, and it's lovely to see him out here today. In many ways, this race is in the honour of his late father, Dudley Colley, who was the first winner of the Hewison Trophy in 1948 when he won the race here, a handicap race at the Irish Grand Prix in Phoenix Park. So this is the only Fazer Nash ever to be registered in Ireland, and it's wonderful to see it here in the same family that it's been in since before the war. A car with a wonderful history. The race leaders now, John Giles still manages to stay ahead of Martin Stretton, who's getting a little untidy. Maybe his tyres are beginning to give him a little trouble. This car well worked over the weekend. As they go round Argus corner, down towards Saab, and John Giles certainly pulling away, so there's something wrong there.
And one of the back pockets looking rather anxiously as these very fast motor cars hone in, and you know, it's not so long since I remember a chain gang Fazer Nash racing at Kirkuson. That used to be Lord Dunleath's car, and indeed in the early days of Kirkuson, when I started doing motor races, it was one of the fastest cars out there. Now watch the car over these undulations. The whole front suspension just goes completely berserk.
Well, it is sort of fairly primitive, but it works, and that's the important thing. And Fazer Nash, it's wonderful to see them still being used, and just look at Peter Cobb sliding out wide there as he comes round the Saab corner. Here we have the lady driver. No, that's there's back to John Giles. Look at the action getting down through the gears in this dog, and oh dear, John Giles has thrown it away and let Martin Stretton through. Can he make it up again?
There's no point looking behind, it's looking ahead. You need to look, John. They come side by side down the back straight now. Tremendous stuff both ways. Here we see the replay. He just left it too late altogether. He was never going to get around there, Michael.
Well, I think what has happened, he's lost a gear chain. You know, you go down into a gear and you don't know that it's not going to be there. So then he tried the next gear down, and of course, disaster. Off while his concentration was diverted. And of course, you rely on the gears to some extent for stopping. See him putting them on the outside handbrake there, but it's Stretton in the lead.
And I was happened to be in race control after this race yesterday, Michael, and a rather polite English gentleman came up to me and said, I wonder, could you help me? We need to find some of the chains that we shed around the course.
Well, you get used to replacing them. In fact, there's one legendary Fazer Nash owner years ago, and he could take the spring clips off the chains with his big fingernail, his thumbnail. And if you see these, they're 3/4 inch chain, rather like a bicycle, but 4 times as big.
To spot who's next on the flight list, Michael, who's coming up to lap another back market. Was it Tony Colley, in fact?
Well, there we are. Yes, Tony Colley there. He's just about to be passed by Martin Stretton. 2 laps to go. Peter Cobb still in 3rd place. John Giles trying to use the advantage of Tony Colley's car to pass, or an opportunity to pass Martin Stretton, but Martin's too experienced to let him get away with it on this occasion.
We still see them. Cobb is in 3rd place, Roberts 4th, Joe Wakefield doing very well in 5th place, and Walker in the little Thunderbug is in 6th place, not quite as high up as he was yesterday.
Well, it's still wondrous to see the huge variety, the really modern concept of the BMW, and John Giles has got past again. It's the end of his weekend. He's maybe putting a few extra revs as they come down towards the Ferry Glen. Just look at the activity there. They're really having a proper race, and it begins to look like it.
Stretton's in the right place at the moment, though. Down he comes, a car weaving under braking down into August Rent-A-Car corner, the slowest corner on the track. Now, what do you see? When they put the power down, it's just wheel smoke as they come out of there. John Giles, a little bit reluctant as he came out that time, realizing that he doesn't need to let Martin get away like this at this stage of the race, and he's fighting back.
Fighting back down the inside as they come towards Saab corner, but it's still Martin Stretton. Stretton, of course, doesn't have the advantage of a limited slip differential. The Fazer Nash, with a solid bar connecting both back wheels, doesn't really suffer from the same amount of wheel spin. So some advantage there, but it's a very close thing at this stage.
Hawker, I think, is about to be lapped. He should be next on the list. We'll check that as it go by. And they'll be going shortly, if our calculations are right, onto the last lap. And there's still a few back markers in the way, and this race is far from over.
Well, it's they're taking it side by side down the back straight.
John Giles, remember your braking area. Is he too late? Is he going to get round? I think he'll make it this time.
And he certainly has. Working on the one, he's gone very wide, Stretton trying for the inside, but it's just a bit intimidating. He closes the door a little on him, but Stretton still looking for the inside line, coming up and pass two more conventional Nashes. We have Freddie Giles, that's John's father, has pulled out of the way to let Sun pass.
And really it is gentleman racing, because obviously they're very cautious, they're very good at using their mirrors and letting the fast men through as they come down into August's corner now for the last time. John Giles on the bumpy outside bit, he's going to have difficulty getting it stopped and getting around from there. Stretton, of course, on the tight line, so he's going to be slow out of the corner, and John Giles trying to take full advantage of that. There's a back marker in the way. There's only one corner between now and the checkered flag.
Well, who's it going to be? Round they come this corner. It's very easy to fall off there. Giles tries to get the inside line again. Stretton still determined, getting encouragement from the marshals, wheeling them on. Or is he in fact slowing them down?
Stretton pointing to the left. Now we don't have the script of the finish.
There's something here. And Mark Walker is in trouble. The little car, sadly the Thunderbug, has turned over. And the marshals, of course, running. Such a fabulous drive in this car. He's a real hero, and we'll hope that things turn out all right. What a way to end the race, but a wonderful display by the Fazer Nashes here in the Phoenix Park.
This is the second Cisco National Historic Race of the weekend, and the grid is as they finished on Saturday's race. And on pole, it's Edmund Cassidy in the Sunbeam Tiger, a big monster machine, 4.2 litres. Bertie Carruthers alongside him. He gave him a great battle yesterday. Lloyd Hutchinson in the Mini is on the second row alongside Gareth Maxwell. Then Jim O'Reilly in a Porsche, and Johnny Flynn, who says he races for fun, is on the third row of the grid in the MG Midget. Mervyn Johnson, Ray Cunningham, Alan Kessie and Billy Crosby make up the top 10. This is an 8-lap race, and there is the front row of the grid, and that was the driver who finished second yesterday, Bertie Carruthers in the Porsche 911, 2.7 litres. Had problems down the main straight trying to catch up with Edmund Cassidy, who's grunting that 4.2 litre car. Well, it just took him further and further ahead, but as they got into the corners, Bertie Carruthers was able to tighten up and get closer to the eventual race winner, Edmund Cassidy. That is our pole sitter there in the Sunbeam Tiger, and any moment now the marshals put their hands in the air. The 5-second board will be shown. There is the 5-second board shown to the grid of the National Historics here at the Phoenix Park, and any second now creeping forward goes Edmund Cassidy. May get a penalty for a jump start there as they go down to the Dublin Crystal Corner for the very first time, and Edmund Cassidy, by the result of that creeping, has let Bertie Carruthers come around the outside, and as they go down into Dublin Crystal Corner, the Porsche 911 leads the Sunbeam Tiger. A better start this time around for Bertie Carruthers.
Much better start. He's got some cement dust to contend with. And watch out for Lloyd Hutchinson in that cheeky little Mini Cooper from the second row of the grid. He very nearly made it in among the top two. As it is, he's ahead of the big MGB of Garth Maxwell as they head down the Coca-Cola straight towards the very, very tight right-hand hairpin at Argus Rentals Ferry Glen. And it's Bertie Carruthers bouncing over the bumps there as they come down into the braking area. Ed Cassidy happy enough at this stage to look at the back of the Porsche, but then that's the way yesterday's race started too, and look at the way it finished.
Yes, yesterday's race, as I was saying, Bertie Carruthers did get the better start, and Edmund Cassidy was playing catch-up for a time, but when he did get ahead, he did have that power on the main straight as the cars behind go round the Furry Glen. He did have the power on the main straight, was Edmund Cassidy, but into the corners, under braking, Carruthers was able to close up. As they head up now to the Saab corner for the first time in this 8-lap race, it is Bertie Carruthers in the Porsche, and under braking, Edmund Cassidy this time gets that little bit closer.
The Sunbeam Tiger now able to use all those 4.2 litres down the straight, but the Porsche getting the power down better and seems to be stretching it away just for the first couple of hundred yards. Further back, an eclectic mixture of cars, a big, tall, old Volvo saloon there, battling with a tiny Mini. All kinds and conditions of motor cars in this race, but up front, it's Tiger versus Porsche with Porsche in front.
Around Dublin Crystal Corner for the second time in this 8-lap race, it is Bertie Carruthers who still leads from Edmund Cassidy. Normally what these cars would do in Mondello Park especially is run a handicap race. Basically the slower cars start first, and then the theory is that they all flash by the finish line together. It doesn't actually happen that way, but this time around it is a scratch race, so they're vying for positions all the way through. At the end of the first lap, Carruthers had a lead of 0.36 of a second from Cassidy, and Hutchison back in third place in that mini, some 3.86 seconds as they go around Furry Glen for the second time.
And what that means when there's a big performance difference is that before the end of the race, the leaders are going to start lapping the back markers, and those back markers can have an effect on who's in front. They can balk people, not intentionally perhaps, but they may not be looking in their mirrors, and that can change the outcome of the race. But there's Lloyd Hutchinson in the mini, a safe third place. Then it's Garth Maxwell in the MGB, then it's Jim O'Reilly in the second of the Porsches, Mervyn Johnson's mini, and then I think it's probably Billy Crosby in the number 60 MG midget next in line. Further back there are Jaguars and Cortinas and Anglias and all manner of things.
Yeah, it's a real mix and match and gather 'em in this race, but these are the two leaders once again. End of lap 2, Carruthers in the Porsche 911 leads Ed Cassidy in the Sunbeam Tiger. Cassidy takes the wider line, just gets a little bit of dirt as they go round that corner. This is a battle further down the fields. One or two of those cheeky little minis down the Dunlop Straight. A great battle here coming down into the Dublin Crystal Corner once again.
And it looks as though this lot are fighting every bit as hard as the Fiats and the Formula Vs elsewhere on the programme. You expect valuable motor cars to be treated with respect and with great care, but not a bit of it. These fellas are giving it absolutely everything. And Ed Cassidy has got a bit of a slingshot on the Porsche as they went down Coca-Cola Straight that time. He's a lot closer in the braking area, and the Tiger's brakes seem at this stage in the race anyway to be holding up quite well, because he's able to close up without getting sideways as soon as he touches the brake pedal.
Well, the lead at the end of 2 laps was negligible, 0.39 of a second, but you can see the distance and the gap there. But the distance back to the third place runner, Lloyd Hutchinson, was 7.17 seconds as some of the back markers down into the Furry Glen for their second time. In fact, their third time, of course. They're on lap 3 of 5 as they speed up now. The STP straight, not quite as straight. It does have a left-right camber and then back up onto the main straight. And these are our leaders on the Dunlop Straight for the third time. And he's trying around the outside is Edmund Cassidy this time around. He doesn't seem to have, this time around in this race, that power doesn't seem to, weight ratio doesn't seem to be doing exactly the same as it did yesterday.
Not quite, but Bertie Carruthers is keeping to the right-hand side coming into the corner. That means he gets the slower exit to the corner because he's having to take it tighter, and that means that the Tiger can take its time, take the proper line, and actually rocket out that little bit faster. So it could well be that Bertie Carruthers, being defensive, could actually be handing the advantage to Ed Cassidy in the long run. We'll have to wait and see.
On the way down to
down the Dunlop Straight they go once again. This is car number 18, that is
Jim O'Reilly
in 5th place overall, and he's got Billy Crosby behind him, that car number 60.
But Maurice Cassidy behind them. Then if you just look a little bit further ahead, which we can't quite see, we'll see him going out of the corner, some back markers, plus one or two Garth Maxwell's MGB in the head of them. He's in 4th place, and of course there's a Mini still lying 3rd.
Well, this is the difficulty now for the leaders, because after 5 laps, they're on their 6th lap now. The difficulty is they've got to pass these back markers, but being the gentleman races they are all staying over to the left-hand side of the road to allow our 2 leaders through. And down the inside, one of the back markers goes our leader, Bertie Carruthers, to complete 6 of 8 laps. And a hand waved in the air there from Edmund Cassidy. Don't know if that was annoyance or just to say thank you very much. I think it was probably the latter.
I think it was, because historic drivers are very gentlemanly, as we know. But there, as Richard White's Capri pulls in, he was telling me yesterday that that car cost him the princely sum of £1,000. He's had a lot of value out of it at Phoenix Park this weekend, but no more, sadly. It seems to have retired. But Bertie Carruthers in the traffic appears to have stretched out a couple of car lengths there over Ed Cassidy. He's had the brakes, as they say, and possibly he's been able to make better use of them. The race isn't over yet.
Certainly not. The time gap after the end of 6 laps was 1.19 seconds, with Hutchinson back in 3rd place and 20 seconds adrift. He won't be bothering the front 2, but as they make the way through the back markers, and now they're on their own. Well, actually, they're coming up to one of the Volvos. One of that big Volvos looks like an enormous bus out in the middle of that traffic there. But our leaders coming through the STP straight, down towards the Saab corner, and then onto the main straight for the penultimate time. Bertie Carruthers in the Porsche 911. Edmund Cassidy in the Sunbeam Tiger. Can that big litre car. 4.2 litres against 2.7 litres. Do anything about it, I'm afraid. Cassidy's being balked there by a back marker, and I think the Carruthers will be able to open up his advantage as they come down the main straight for the very last time, sorry, the second last time, because they're on to their final lap now.
And Cassidy just has one lap in which to make up about 4 car lengths and get past the black Porsche. That's a bit of a tall order, but he's leaving the race very, very late as they go down to Dublin Crystal. He's left turning very, very late. He's got around, but he's dropped about 3 or 4 car lengths, and that has probably decided the outcome of the race, because barring problems to the Porsche, he should have it all his own way now. It's unlikely that the Tiger is going to be able to make up that kind of distance in just under a lap.
One of the back markers there just waving the leader through, Bertie Carruthers, and suddenly he will find that Edmund Cassidy is on his boot as well, as Cassidy comes through safe enough. Yes, going into Dublin Crystal Corner, it was just one last moment. He left his braking, did Edmund Cassidy, very, very late indeed. Tried one last manoeuvre to get down by Bertie Carruthers, but it just didn't come off.
But can Norman Williams influence the outcome of this race? Here he is in a misfiring 1300cc Malloch. He's got a big black Porsche bearing down on him. He's got a big red Sunbeam Tiger bearing down on him, but Norman uses the mirrors. He keeps over to the left, lets the Porsche through, and now he's going to let Ed Cassidy through as well, and under braking for the final corner, but it looks like the race belongs to Bertie.
So our congratulations to Bertie Carruthers, who comes on to the main straight here at the Phoenix Park. Yesterday he was second, today he reverses that result under the checkered flag. Bertie Carruthers wins the Cisco Class Historics here at the Phoenix Park in the Porsche 911. Second place, Edmund Cassidy in the Sunbeam Tiger. Lloyd Hutchinson will take third in the Mini Cooper, and Gareth Maxwell fourth home in the MGB GT.
Well, big crowds enjoying the free motor racing festival here at the Phoenix Park over the last 2 days. It really has been a glorious event. Just let me tell you that Mark Walker, who crashed there in the Fazer Nash class a couple of minutes ago, is perfectly fine. He's hurt his shoulder. He has been taken to hospital just as a precautionary measure, but he is going to be A-OK.